Is the Jamaica government under pressure? Failed by denying its people. If it's your first time on my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Is a piece and headline that I'm seeing here. 1 week after a group of heartbroken Jamaican ship workers reported that they were denied landing in Kingston, the government yesterday said that when the vessel pulled out of the Jamaican waters, it could not have guaranteed permission to disembark. In a joint statement by the National Security and Foreign Ministers, the government said, however, that efforts were underway by the health authorities to ascertain the temperature data of the crews aboard the Marella Discovery 2, so that a recommendation for landing exemption for the Jamaicans could have been made to the cabinet. According to the statement, the ship docked south of Port Royal on the evening of April 2nd, at which time the Emergency Health Operation Committee became aware of the matter and the vehicle left on the afternoon of April 3rd. The effort regarding possible facilitation of the landing of the workers were therefore discontinued, said the spokesperson in the statement. This statement has raised further questions about the condition under which the Jamaican government would have been prepared to outrightly refuse landing for 43 of its citizens. Meanwhile, the statement did not say whether the health authorities had received the request temperature log for the crews or any reports on COVID-19 aboard. But it said that as part of the preparation for the possible admission of the Jamaicans, the health authorities were seeking to identify the appropriate quarantine facilities and supporting resources to recommend to the cabinet. The risk of accepting nearly 50 additional persons from a cruise ship, especially without confirmed quarantine arrangement, would have been particularly high at that time and would clearly have posed a further threat to the public's health and safety, the government spokesperson said in the statement. Workers on the ship have told the Gleaner that for 21 days the ship was on the sea before it came to Jamaica. There were no reports of new coronavirus on board, and none of the more than 700 workers have reportedly feeling ill. Last night, opposition spokesman on national security, Fritz Jackson, said that the government response was unfortunate and regrettable. It offered no comfort to neither the 43 Jamaicans, their family, nor any well-thinking Jamaicans, he said. According to Jackson, between April 2nd and 3rd, the government made no communication with the ship captain or his agent of any efforts being made to facilitate the Jamaicans disembarking. He said that under those circumstances, the government could not reasonably accept the ship to remain here. The ship had left Jamaica en route to the Dominican Republic, where its nationals disembarked, then to Portugal. But word came on Sunday that the vessel was also denied landing in Lisbon. The ship has since diverted to the United Kingdom, which has seen far more than 10,000 coronavirus deaths. Meanwhile, the Oldness administration had reiterated that it is considering a program for the controlled return of some Jamaicans overseas. Jamaica. Let me read a comment from someone. Foreign Affairs Minister Carmina Johnson-Smith says the government is monitoring the situation of the 45 Jamaican ship workers aboard the Marella Discovery too, adding that it will seek the more suitable arrangement and support for the nationals overseas. The worker has been left heartbroken after the vessel was denied docking in Portugal. This came more than a week after the Jamaicans were unable to land in Kingston amid restriction on all incoming passengers as part of the new coronavirus containment measures. The Gleaner understood that the crew is now turning to the United Kingdom for refuge and will be seeking to dock in Southampton. In a joint statement today, Johnson-Smith and National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang indicated that the government had to act in the interest of the country, noting that most of the Jamaicans' coronavirus cases are imported and import-related. It was also noted that at the time of the request for docking and repatriation, the government had the challenge of locating more than 5,000 persons who entered Jamaica between March 18 and 24 who had not reported to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The risk of accepting nearly 50 additional persons from a cruise ship, especially without confirmed quarantine arrangements, would have been particularly high at that time and would clearly have posed a further threat to public health and safety, they said in the joint statement. To retrievate an announcement made by the Prime Minister Andrew Holness last week that the government is exploring the possibilities of controlled re-entry of Jamaicans when possible, contingent on quarantine and isolation capacity, among other variabilities. See the full statement. One cannot read that. The government of Jamaica wishes to advise the fact regarding a request made on Thursday, the 2nd of April, 2010, to allow entry and landing of Jamaican workers who were aboard the Marella Discovery 2. We understand that the disappointment and anxiety of these cruise line workers and similar sentiment experiences by other Jamaican workers overseas who await the reopening of our borders to return home. We have, however, confirmed the following. The vessel did not come into Jamaican Harbour Port until the 2nd of April 2020, but was anchored at the California Bluff, 12 miles south of Port Royal, for refueling. The ship agent made contact with the port authorities and port health agency, advising of a request for 43 Jamaican crew members to be landed. Number 3, between the relevant immigration and health authorities, the agent was advised that the ports were closed and that landing of the crew would require an exemption. This was communication to the captain. 4, the matter came to attention of the Emergency Health Operation Committee that evening, the 2nd of April 2020. 5th, health authorities made inquiries of temperature checks and any incident of COVID-19 on the vessel and further made effort to identify appropriate available quarantine facilities and resource to support same, to determine if it would be possible to recommend the exemption of the relevant minister. That process, in the early afternoon of following day, April the 3rd, 2020, The ship agent advised that the request for repatriation was withdrawn and that the vessel was continuing on its route. Efforts regarding possible facilitation of the landing of the worker were therefore discontinued. It is surmised that the captain may have taken the decision not to wait for a process for which neither a guarantee of success nor a timeline could be given in light of the existing legal restriction regarding our borders. For additional context, we wish to remind the public and advise the crew members who may not have been aware that during the period when the request was made, that's April 2nd, 3rd, the relevant authorities were still in the process of trying to locate the more than 5,000 Jamaicans went to Jamaica, or the 5,000 persons went to Jamaica between March 18 and 24th, who have not reported to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. This was a high-risk set of circumstances, as there was evidence that many of those persons were not abiding by the self-quarantine rules. Furthermore, the discussion to close Jamaican borders to passengers traffic in the first place took consideration of the reality that the majority of Jamaican coronavirus cases are Jamaicans who've traveled overseas or persons who made contact with them. When they came to Jamaica, the risk of accepting nearly 50 additional persons from a cruise ship, especially within confirmed quarantine arrangement, would have been particularly high at that time and would clearly have posed a further threat to the public health and safety. And this story went on and on and on to at the point. So they have a reason why they closed and did not allow the 50 or the 43 to come off. And therefore the Jamaicans are en route to become, heated in the context of arguments. I'm only reading from what I see here. This is not my views. It's just a matter of saying that when we want to come home and things like these do happen, we question why we cannot enter into our homeland, and one feel really bad. And now staying on the high seas or traveling around on the high seas, not being allowed to land anywhere, while other persons from other land or citizens from other land are allowed to disembark. It doesn't feel good to anybody. But once again, as I don't want to take up a lot of time here, once again, this is JCon TV. Crash me. Tell me your views here. And let us all disagree to agree. And like I say in this time, remain safe and walk in peace, my friend. Shalom.